Let's follow up on this story. Canada issuing new advice for travelers as a disease that's transmitted through insects is starting to spread across Latin America. The Oropouche virus is not new, but its recent spread is unprecedented. There are cases popping up in Brazil, Bolivia, and Cuba for the very first time. So joining us this morning with more is Dr. Isaac Bogosh, an infectious disease specialist and regular here on Your Morning. Good to see you.
Hey, great to see you as well, Anne-Marie.
All right, so there's more than 8,000 cases of Oropouche have been reported so far. What do we need to know about this virus? What does it look like? What does it do?
Yeah, so this is a virus that's transmitted by biting insects, midges, and some types of mosquitoes. As you point out, it's been known for decades. It was initially discovered in Trinidad and Tobago in the 1950s. And there's been small outbreaks of this in South America in the past few decades. What's new this year is that there's a lot more of it, and there's more of it in countries that previously haven't reported it. Those are countries where Canadians like to travel. There's also new data that's, I think it's fair to say that it's still very early, but there may be an association of poor outcomes in pregnancy. And I think it's important to recognize that it's early, it's not entirely clear, but this brings back memories to the 2014 Zika virus outbreak.
Yeah.
So it's just important that people recognize that this virus might cause a fever, a headache, feeling crummy, and most people will recover on the comfort of their own home. But there may be, keyword may be, an issue with pregnant women, and that's why it's important if people are traveling to these areas that they just put on bug spray and do everything they can to avoid bug bites, to avoid infection, because there may be complications with pregnancy.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, because those countries that we mentioned, and as you pointed out, are places where people like to travel, especially in the wintertime, which is the season we're coming up to. There have been cases that are detected in the U.S. and Europe, and that was tied to travelers returning from South America. So what are your concerns if cases begin to show up here, outside of those Latin American countries?
So I think it's probably fair to say that we might have even seen cases in Canada that have just gone undetected, right? Because this causes, first of all, we have a ton of travel between Canada and Latin America and the Caribbean. It's a very popular place for Canadians to travel for fun, but also to visit friends and relatives. So we might have even seen cases in Canada that have come back undetected because, quite frankly, most people who get this infection might not even be sick enough to seek medical care. You might have a fever, a headache, you feel crummy for a few days, and then you get better. Some people might come back and we see them and we think, oh, this is dengue. It looks very similar to dengue from a clinical standpoint. We do a dengue test. The dengue test is negative. The patient gets better. They go home. They recover in the comfort of their own home. And we never get around to making a diagnosis of this. So we might have already seen it before. But the key here is lots of Canadians travel to this part of the world. And pregnant women or women who might become pregnant should just be aware that there might be an association. I think it's fair to say we need more data, but out of abundance of caution, take extra steps to avoid mosquito bites and other insect bites that might transmit this infection.
You brought up dengue, which brings up the point of shots. So I can get a shot right now if I'm traveling for dengue. What about for Oropouche?
No, there's no vaccine available for this particular infection. This would be under that umbrella. There's a term called neglected tropical diseases, and this would be one of those neglected tropical diseases, meaning we know it exists, but there's not a lot of research or funding looking into this. Now that there's a possible association between poor outcomes in pregnancy, I think we're going to see a lot more focus on this to really better understand that. But there is no vaccine. The best thing to do is you can put on bug spray, so that's 30% DEET or 20% icardin. These products are widely available throughout Canada. You can wear long pants and a long sleeve shirt to avoid insect bites. Of course, that's not practical when it's 40 degrees Celsius. And of course, if you're staying in a hotel or whatever accommodations, you make sure it's got good air conditioning or a screen to help avoid those insects from coming in and biting.
Thanks for helping us highlight this morning.
My pleasure.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.